right, hey everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We've got quite a quorum, and as always, or for those of you who have not done a myCE Talks before, please mute your phones or mute your audio. And if you have questions, use the chat function on Blue Jeans. That way we don't have 50 people all trying to jump in there with questions. In the room, we do have a live studio audience today. Ryan, of course, who will be our speaker, along with his team, Darren and Julie and Rodney. Matthew's here, and Jennifer Wainwright, all part of the live studio audience in 6333. What? Yeah. So again, as always, use the chat function, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So take it away, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlin. Happy 4 days until Christmas, everybody. We were just joking around in here that we are in cruise mode, but, some pretty meaty, serious stuff, 4 days before Christmas. But we're going to try and keep this fun and light just how serious this kind of stuff is. I say serious like it's like a really bad thing. It's just dense material. Yeah. How about that?
That's the way to sell this.
Yeah. All right, guys. Stay on the phone,
We're
please.
We're going to do some kind of equations. The quiz at the end.
There we go. We do have quite a little bit to get through in the next 55 minutes or so. To keep this fun, we wanted to think about this as some gifts that we are going to unwrap. We have a couple of things that are going to be fun, and so they include a review. I know everyone is excited to open up a review. Good. Now I'm there.
That's what I asked Santa for Christmas.
Perfect.
He asked for a new calculator.
Great, that I did. Oh, hold on. It says my screen is not sharing. By the way, we're in a black hole in terms of Wi-Fi here. See. Hopefully everyone can see it. Okay, cool. So a review, we're going to look back at FY17 and the CIMA Collaboration. We're going to talk about the engagement framework, which is a super fun topic to talk about and something that I think we'll probably get quite a few questions on. A metrics map to go along with that, which is a fun gift to open. A learning plan, some enhancements, a double gift there, and we'll round it out with an archive and a couple of tools that you can use just to help with the CIMA stuff. So the first thing we're going to open is a review. Yay! Oh my gosh, so exciting. Okay, so
It was way funnier the first time.
It was pretty good the first time. I rehearsed it. So let's take a look back at FY17 real quick and the work that has gone on between CE and CIMA. There is a lot that has gone on, and everything, ranging from tactical measurement of things and getting insights from tools that CIMA is developing or that we have worked with them on, from that all the way to more strategic and roles and responsibility kind of stuff that we'll continue to evaluate. So it's just as a spectrum of things. And so if you, as you're just sitting there at your computer saying, well, I haven't seen too much out of CE and CIMA, that's because it's just everywhere. And so for you, it might not have been something big this year, but trust that there's a lot going on. And this is an example of some of the stuff that has been delivered. Again, ranging from analytics and testing and measurement and digital tagging, all kinds of stuff. And I really thought of this year as a good dating year for CE and CIMA. We were getting to know each other, understanding strengths and weaknesses, judging each other's appearances, that kind of thing.
Long walks on the beach.
Long walks on the beach, meeting and wooing or not wooing, some leadership.
There's been some spats.
Yep, and then we do a lot of texting, which is super important in dating. And so, it's just been a great dating year. We will take it to the next level as we continue down our path. Hopefully Teresa Schott's not on the phone. So anyways, that's a look back at just some stuff that's gone on. So let's unwrap our next gift, the collaboration. Woo woo!
Yay!
Studio audience. Yeah, all right. Okay.
That was canned laughter.
Yeah, it was. You can
Laugh
see.
track.
Laugh track. Yeah.
You can see Grumpy, who was on there. That's obviously Christian. So our collaboration, one of the big things that that we wanted to talk about today, that probably the biggest piece of work that has gone on between CE and CIMA this year is the engagement framework. The engagement framework is nothing new to CE, but why we were heavily involved in working on it this year is that we are trying to understand what the measurement framework looks like for CE. You know, we have a ton of channels, lots of different ways of doing business, lots of different ways we like to look at our efforts. We're trying to document that and get on the same page between CE, CIMA, and marketing strategy. We started with the engagement framework as that basis. Just for context, from CE, we had a great group of people that we were working with. Stephanie Hammerstone, Alicia Hersig, and Tom LeBaron joined us from CE to help us through this journey. Myself from CEP, Christian, and Christopher Reed from CIMA, and all kinds of marketing strategy partners depending on the business unit. But really what we found big success in here is, again, getting everyone on the same page, speaking the same language, using the same words, and getting a good understanding of how CE thinks about the consumer and how we go to market, and then how we are going to measure results. Before I go into what the framework actually is, just want to set it up as something that is applicable to multiple business units. I think we think of it as being a world-centric kind of thing, but this was really explored and put together and enhanced to include Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Cruise Line, Alani, and ABD. There'll be some subtle changes in more of like a timing thing that we'll test into, which is a sneak peek into another gift we're going to unwrap in just a little bit. And some really exciting news with this is this has been blessed by our executive team, and so that is just a big accomplishment with this piece of work, is that they really felt like we got to a place where we nailed it, and they agreed, and so Emmanuel and Mila have been exposed to this a lot, have had a lot of feedback, and again have gotten to a place where are on the same page about it. Ed, Kim, and Rick Merriman from CIMA, and then Amy Foster, who played a really cool role because she actually helped develop the original consumer journey from the CI perspective when she was in that role, and then put on a marketing strategy hat in her new role to understand how it comes to life in marketing. Where is this stored? Workfront. Shout out Carlin. Yep. So this is in a document library inside of Workfront. I have a link here. We will send out links after this, so you don't have to write down what this link is. So you can stop doing that. To those of you who are trying to do that, we'll send that out so you have access to what this is. So let's unwrap it. So this is what it looks like. It's coming up for the people in the room. The screens are changing. All right. It shouldn't look too drastically different than something that you have seen in the past, but it's just a little bit more robust. And so we didn't want to create something brand new and different. The foundation of this was working really well for CE, and so expanding upon that and adding a little bit more meat to it, and then again getting everybody on the same page. So though it doesn't look totally different, there are some enhancements that have been made to it that I just want to call out quickly. I could spend probably a whole MyCE talk just on this, but I am not going to today. And if we want to in the future, maybe, possibly, but not today. So the points I want to point out are, if we look at this consumer piece at the top, the consumer mindset, even these words, we had our first review with the cross-functional team, and we spent 45 minutes just on these words at the top. There was a lot of passion around adding ing to the end of them or changing the words completely, but this is where we ended up with and got approval from our executives. This is the mindset the consumer is in, and the only reason I really point this out is it's different than what a go-to-market strategy is, which is terms that we use a lot in CE with IAT. IAT is in reaction to ideate, contemplate, design. So again, starting with the consumer in mind, that's what you're going to see at the top. And the new piece here is there's a few rows that say emotional and rational. And again, to build this up and give it a little bit more context and make it come to life a little bit more, we worked with CI to understand what are consumers really feeling from an emotional perspective and a rational perspective in each one of our phases, to help us with messaging and know where to be at what time, and talking about what types of things in what type of way, in an emotional way or in an irrational way. And then this the triangle in the background, which is the rational thinking, it just shows you where does that peak in the consumer's mind during their journey. They're making a lot of rational decisions in design, and not very many rational decisions in relive and in ideate, much more emotional. So that's just a piece that's in here that's a little bit of an enhancement. Some other things that are in here are just tweaking of words that have been done. Again, a lot of time spent on very individual words, but I'm glad that there was so much passion around it, and really getting it right that again the team could agree on the right words in these phases. For the consumer overview, I wanted to point out real quick, we have an asterisk by the numbers that are in this particular row. So you'll see in the last 60 days is in the first 3 phases, and then 42 in relive. We have an asterisk there because we really want to test into that and get a little bit more to an individual level and understand. Carlin might show no sign of progressing in her through the funnel after 10 days, where Jennifer, it takes more like 20 days.
Okay, thanks for that.
And so we just wanted to point out that these are the overall numbers right now, but again, want to do a lot of testing into this, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Our go-to-market strategies are relatively consistent with what you've seen before. The only change is in the second to last phase, which used to be called visit, and was changed to delight. And I believe that word has caught on, before this presentation. So I'm glad that people are already starting to use that. And then the meat of this that was changed, and really the whole point of CE and CIMA coming together to put this work together, is the measurement section. And this is where there's a lot of new stuff, and want to kind of give an outline of just how to read this. I'm not going to go through every single thing because that will take a very long time. But the way that we approached it was measurement from all different levels, and the highest level being just the consumer as a whole, broad audience kind of level. And if you think about keeping a pulse on Disney and a consumer's feelings toward Disney, again, as a whole, there are tools and surveys and all kinds of stuff that are out there today that Disney puts out to keep a pulse on that. So we wanted to understand at this level, if we're doing less marketing, do we see the intent to visit as a whole go down, and make that association, and just try and figure those things out. Again, this is a lot of CI type of stuff, and also working with experience teams to get these numbers. And then more related to CE are the next 3 areas, the audience optimization and performance sections. We'll start with the audience section, and this was coming from Emmanuel, very passionate about audiences, and he's done a very good job of explaining that to our organization and marketing strategy and CIMA, all understanding that. So we really wanted to be pretty direct in how we think about audience measurement. And so it's broken out into 3 things. Volume, knowing how many of these ideate cookies or guests are out there, both at a whole, like a big level, and then also at a micro segment level. Understanding the effectiveness, are we moving people through the phases? And then which micro segments are doing the best job moving through the phases? And then how efficient are we being with our audiences, and looking at cost metrics and that kind of stuff. Which you can see change throughout the phases as well. But this is again to give us an idea of not only what are we dealing with as a whole in these phases, and making sure the funnel is filled at the appropriate places, but that we're being effective with what we're doing towards these audiences, and efficient in the way that we're doing it as well. The next section is optimization, and this is if you think about what we do today in our day-to-day, how we make decisions and have the ability to make day-to-day decisions. What KPIs are we looking at? These were all put together, these 2 sections, closely with the leads of the different activation areas, the planning areas. This is, again, what they do today, and so we just want to document that and get a good understanding, and then where we can drive consistency, do that. You'll notice in this section there's some gray boxes throughout the phases. That's where we're actually not doing this channel in this phase today. So opportunity to be doing some more, but also we wanted to outline how would you measure social in the visit phase if we were to ever do that. We already have that outlined here. So that's, again, an enhancement. And then last is the performance section, and this is really like the tangible piece of what are we trying to do. So if we take Inspire Marketing, and we are trying to, as you can see by the communication objective, create consideration and excitement to experience a Disney Destinations vacation. What we're trying to get the consumer to do right now is go to the website. So that is what we would tangibly measure for a communication in that phase. Whereas in the Activate Marketing, you'd see different KPIs versus Transact, Maximize Delight, and Advocate. And so that is just an outline of, again, what we're trying to do, how we think about it. We know that there are bodies of work out there to help us with measurement, Google 360 being the big one that CIMA is working on to help us understand these KPIs and the effect all the channels are having on them, or the digital channels right now. But again, one document, that we can use as kind of our guide map. And I felt like at the end, when we were trying to get this, finalized by everyone, Tom Aronson had a really great comment that he made that I think explains, how important we view this piece of this document. And he said, this is something I envision everyone in CE printing out and having at their desk as a guide to how we do things and how we measure things. And so I think that's a cool statement and something that, we hope for as well with this piece of work.
And hey, Brian,
I was just going to say it's also a good stocking stuffer.
It's really
Yes,
good.
it is.
Laminated, man, yeah.
I just want to give a couple shout outs to this. Like, one of the way I would think about this document is this is CE on a page. This isn't even an analytics framework. I mean, certainly the bottom half of the sheet, if you will, all those metrics, the impetus to creating this is because we were trying to get there. But this journey Ryan really was a facilitator on behalf of CE broadly about how do we want to document, how we want to exist and organize ourselves as a team. And that's what is really beautiful about this document. I've worked for a few different companies and never had anything close to this. Like, we're really lucky to have something so tight and concise. And I know there's been a lot of I think there's been a lot of kind of questions about, is it final, is it this, and maybe we don't agree with the phases. And I'm kind of here to say that leadership is this is it. This is kind of fairly etched in stone. And it's just a really important time for all of us to start really thinking about, okay, this is the framework we're working against. How do we embrace it and go forward? Because all measurement, all analytics, everything is going to now fall under this context. And so the beauty of that is we're going to be well organized, be really thorough, but that also means anything that falls outside of this isn't really measurement that we're going to be able to support.
Right. Yeah. Great.
So Franz did ask. He said he'll print it out as long as the document never changes. So I just quoted
Yeah.
you, Jennifer, back saying etched in stone. Jennifer.
There you go.
Weinberg.
Hey-o.
On behalf of Emmanuel.
On behalf of
All right. Well, and I know this one, there's a lot here. There's a lot to digest and really just think about and understand. And want everyone to be able to do that. And just know that the team is here, the platform analytics team is here to help with questions that you might have about this or just how to think about certain things. We've already experienced a lot of, what did you guys think about this? And I mean, it is very thought through. Of course, there are going to be things that might be outside of what we thought about, but this is the majority of it. And we want to have the opportunity to be able to work with you and ensure that you understand that as well. So please feel free to reach out to us with questions on this. And then also it lives on Workfront, so we'll send out that link to print out. All right, let's open another gift, shall we? Guys, it's an understanding. All right. Yep. All right. So, an understanding. This is the metrics map for CE. So, we just talked about the framework and how we're going to measure things. And so the next piece that we thought about was, well, how do we know where these metrics exist today? And do we have all of them that we need at the levels that we need them? And so this piece of work was put together with our partners across CE to understand the KPIs that are outlined on that framework. Where do they exist today? Who is responsible for getting those numbers and producing them? And then who sees those numbers? Does marketing strategy get that number, or does it stay internal to CE? This is out on Tableau, and I have directions here of how you can get access to this report.
And this is like late breaking, hot off the presses kind of
It
stuff,
is,
right?
it is. Yep, good job,
Thanks
Julie.
to Julie Holt on our
That's
team
right,
for
yep.
making this.
That's right. And so, as you can see kind of on this little demo, select the channel that you're interested in, the phase that you're interested in looking at, and the question that you're trying to answer, and it will pop up with information that you can hover over and get some more detail. This we feel like has potential to change and become even more exciting in terms of directly linking you to reports and GUIs. We're constantly updating it with the newest information that's available. If new reports are being published, we will make the changes so that reflects this. It reflects it on here as well. But just a great tool. I feel like, especially right now, as we're all trying to learn new things and new channels, new numbers. This is a great place to start to understand where to even go to start getting some stuff. All right, let's see. Another gift. A plan! Got it! Yeah! All right, let's look at a plan. So, one of the things that's been exciting for us this year, something we've been trying to tackle for a couple of years and really got some traction recently, was an idea of a learning plan. The idea is actually not something that's brand new. And the reason it's kind of baked into this conversation is CIMA used to facilitate a learning plan with Kara, and they transitioned that over this year as we went through roles and responsibilities. We felt like the idea of an overarching learning plan for the department should stay in the department, so that we have the opportunity with all channels to be able to gather some learnings. And so, as you guys are well aware, CE has been testing and learning for a long time across various channels. However, we haven't really had big topics to all rally around and test against and really beef up learnings around. It's been very specific in channels or in different activation strategies, which is definitely not a bad thing. And I'm going to emphasize that again, that optimization, testing, and understanding what you should be doing in the moment, that type of A/B testing is completely valid, and we do not want to stop that. But this is more of now a supplement or a complement to what we're doing. This is what your leaders have outlined as key topics that we want to just really learn about and rally around. And so any opportunity that we have in any of the channels to be able to learn, we want to do so. This was put together with the directors, and we started out with a long list of topics and talked through them and the application across all of CE. Kind of kept that in mind of we didn't want to choose a topic that was only relevant for a very small subset of the department, but what are the big things that our whole department could really learn from and gain a lot from. Those two topics were identified as audiences and the engagement framework, so I'm going to go through those in just a second. But what I would love to encourage is that, keep in mind this learning plan as you are developing campaigns, messages, audiences. Could I answer one of the questions that are outlined in the measurement plan or in the learning plan with this particular effort? My team, the platform analytics team, is here to help you design that test and help ensure it's measured correctly, either through us or CIMA, which again we'll talk about in just a few minutes in roles and responsibilities. But just be keeping that in mind. And one thing I want to plug is we're working with the Workfront go-to-market team on inserting ourselves earlier in the process, so we're a little bit more proactive in getting these ideas or these learning topics learned against instead of reactive to things that campaigns that just come up. You might be asking yourself, where is this stored? Workfront. So it's in the same place. Yep, you can go there and you will see that along with the engagement framework. And again, we'll send out this link. So let's unwrap the learning plan. This is the first of the two topics, audiences. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I'll give you a general idea of how to think about this. With audiences, the goal is to gather learnings around our consumers so we're better able to prioritize audiences and messages, meet their needs, and address them through the most relevant technologies and channels. With that as our objective, there are three buckets that we want to learn against. One is best signals, so how do we identify where someone is in their consumer journey, using all of the data that is available to us, but then also possibly going outside of data we have access to today, and exploring that as well. Next best business unit, how do we know which business we should be talking to a consumer about and where are we going to see the most return for our investment? and then technology and channel consumptions, and trying to understand the technologies we have today and what's resonating with particular consumers, and also considering what's coming up and what should we be on the cutting edge of from a marketing technology perspective. And so outlined here in this box, this dashed box, is just some sample questions that came from the directors that kind of bring it more to life. And this is the type of stuff that we would be looking to answer. So you can just get a good idea of what these are. We always welcome more questions in here. But if you're just looking for an opportunity to help contribute to the learning plan, a great place to start is with these questions, and if you can help us answer those. And then you'll notice at the bottom, we didn't call this the testing plan for a reason. We wanted it to be a learning plan so that we can do multiple types of efforts against it. We can use the DMP to learn stuff, the DSPs, Facebook, CRM, research credits, analytics, control groups, consumer insights. Wherever we can learn, we want to learn. And so feel free, again, if you have the opportunity in any of those spaces, to loop us in and contribute to the overall learning plan. And then the second one is the engagement framework, which again we just went through, but where I pointed out some asterisks, we really wanted to make that document even more tight. And so how do we start to understand timing a little bit better, timing at a consumer level, and as well as channel mix. So one of the things that we have talked to CIMA about in the past, and as recently as yesterday, I was chatting with Christian about this, is understanding the channel mix at the phase level. Which channels should we be using in Inspire versus in Transact? Where are we seeing the most return? Just getting a better sense of that so that we can, again, enhance that framework. And then consumer movement, which is an interesting piece that is more probably analytics based, but getting a good idea of how quickly do we see consumers moving through this, and more at an individual level. And if we see Julie move through our whole thing in 2 days, how do we treat that type of behavior different than if we see Darren move through that in a couple of months? We just you could have different strategies against that, but we really want to understand that a little bit more. So that is the learning plan that you hear us reference, and then again, be keeping in mind whenever you are putting together efforts and tactics and stuff that this exists, and that we're always looking to learn against these two topics. All right, you guys want to unwrap an enhancement or two? Huh? Yeah? All right. Okay, let's do it. So, there were a couple of enhancements in the CE-CIMA space this year that we made that felt like we needed to call out. You might look at this slide and think, there's no way this is an enhancement, but I promise you it is. This is forums and meetings, and what we determined very quickly at the start of our close dating and courtship was that we have a lot of meetings and a lot of people in a lot of different topics at a lot of different times. And so we really explored this year what's necessary, what's working, what's not working, what are the needs of the organization and really of leadership too. And we're able to streamline some things. Want to go through just real quickly what kind of forums exist and what's talked about there, just so you have a good sense of where topics might come up and where issues are discussed. There are 3 executive level forums that CE-CIMA work is discussed. There is an executive update that happens monthly with the CE and CIMA directors and VPs. There's a directors meeting that happens bi-weekly, and Jennifer from CE and Alicia from CIMA lead both of those meetings. And then the CESC is another place where just CE-CIMA stuff comes up, and they talk about, internal to CE, either issues that we're having or enhancements that could be made. And the goals of those executive forums are really around giving high-level updates on how the relationship is going, but also the work and the results that we're seeing, prioritization whenever we need it, and then decision-making. We have a lot of decisions to be made across the 2 groups, and how we work together, how we get work done, and then really who pays for stuff. That comes up a lot. But we need someone to make the decision, and so we trust the executive team to do that. And then there are 2 forums more at the manager level where there's more detail discussed. We have the integration forum that Carlin leads, and I have a section in that called Smart Exchange that happens bi-weekly. And Christian leads a similar thing called CE-CIMA Chat in their CIMA managers meetings. And interesting enough, we both have this meeting on the exact same cadence. Thursdays from 4 to 5, but like every other Thursday, but the same every other. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Okay, well, anyways. So,
Super weird.
it's
yeah.
really weird. So, the goal of these forums are more around requests, and I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes, but requests that are coming through the pipe and things that we need to prioritize, or things that we can expand out and take one request but really blow that out to help the rest of the department. Partnership enhancements, we get to hear the gripes of the other departments and the issues that we're having with them. Christian and I can then take those to the director's forum for conversation. And then we needed a place where we could share out results from everything that's going on between the two areas, and that's really where you'll see a lot of the results shared would be in those two, and then the managers would then federate those out to their teams where they feel is necessary. And then finally, there are 5 meetings that happen every week that are very focused on specific topics. These are led by mostly CIMA folks, and so I can go through just real quick. There's a media analytics forum where really big media topics are talked about. Kara isn't really involved in this meeting. It happens weekly from Taylor Kennedy's calendar. There's a digital reporting meeting where we talk about what is the progress being made on the digital reporting front. And we go through reviews of different reports there and go through requirements. That comes from Lauren Stevens' calendar. Data sources check-in is all about digital data. There's a ton of data that we need to bring in for all the reports that CIMA is being asked to do, and that is no small feat. And so we talk about just where are we at with different pieces of data, what's needed from CE to get this data into Hadoop. Jamie on the CEP side is involved with this meeting. This comes from Ale Yorkos's calendar. CEP AAO Nerd Sessions, the best of all. That one is from Amanda and I lead, which is best of all. But our focus is really around advanced analytics. We talk a lot of nerdy stuff about modeling, segmentation, integration into CE. That happens bi-weekly. And then odometry insights that you would see from Craig or Kelsey's calendars. This is more focused on insights they are getting from their attribution solutions, and they're talking to planners and activators about just what they're seeing and enhancements that could be made. But the goals of those forums are really to get work done and to share, really tactical things, deliver feedback where necessary. But that's where there's a lot of work is getting done. And so all of those forums, again, you might think there's no way that's an enhancement. But all of those have now that we've got those together, none of these are,
right levels,
that's
right,
right. Yep. None of these are new except for one. So it's been cool to see the transformation of these things. You might have been taken off of one of these series, but that was intentional because we were trying to get the right people in the right place at the right time, at the right level. And so that is why you would see a change. But again, only one of these meetings is new to the list of stuff that we were doing, and we took off about 12 meetings from the calendar that were existing standing meetings with CE and CIMA, and we're better able to streamline into this. If you feel like you are needed in one of these meetings, that you definitely belong in that nerd session, reach out to my team and we will figure out if you should be there.
Your nerd test, see if you pass.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, there's theory involved.
Yeah.
And so
Hour long, the blue book, the Scantron. There you go.
protractors.
Protractors.
Protractor.
Bring your scientific
Yeah, that was a
calculator.
good one.
In your own words, explain logistic regression.
There you go. People are Googling
Thank
right
you
now,
for
too.
taking that out of your test. That's a great question.
That's it. But feel free to reach out to us and we can, again, connect you with the right people or explain why you failed the logistic regression test. All right. Another enhancement that we made that we're super stoked about is the request process. There has been so much confusion around work getting requested to both CE and CIMA. And what we have done is really streamline that and wanted to be wise about, the work that is being done, who should be doing that, and where does it ultimately live and where does it ultimately go. And so Workfront has been a great tool for us to create a process in. This is called the SMART request process. There are periods in between to signal it's an acronym, so not just being, big-headed.
Smarty
But
pants.
smarty, there we go. SMART is science, measurement, analytics, reporting, and testing. If you have a question in that realm, this is the place to ask it. And one of the huge benefits to this that I think will help everyone on the phone, like trying to understand who's going to do what work, is you don't have to worry about it. Let my team worry about that. You ask us a question and we'll figure out the right place to get that answered. It's just not as easy as, oh, this is a question about known data. This is definitely a platform analytics question. There's so many things that are considered and so many teams that could possibly be answering these questions that we really want to do diligence and think that through and then assign it to the right team between CE and CIMA. So we've worked with CIMA on this. We've showed them this process. We are working with them on the handoff, some more of the tactical handoff in Workfront. But we're excited for people to get to use it. We've already had people that have started, and we've seen great success in it. And again, very straightforward. It's very question based. Like, ask a cool question, tell us what the value is and the risk of not doing it. And then Julie is really the administrator of any follow-ups that need to happen for more detail before we connect you with the right resources. And then again, all of these will get bubbled up into the manager forums for discussion, so we can, expand the request if necessary before it's formally submitted.
And that's in Workfront?
Workfront, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Oh,
And
I've heard
double
this.
gift, it's like one of those that, you get a present with another present on top that's like has a bow, that connects the two.
Yeah.
Double gift is, there's a tagging request form too.
Yay!
So, I know, we did not, of course we have to include Deep and Rodney. They have a request form. It is definitely different than the smart request form, and so we had no problem having two different forms out there. But in the past we have had to submit a digital tag request. You would email Deep with some information. He would reply with some more information. And so we've condensed that down to a request form that we would love for people to start using. And again, this really allows us to be able to track everything that's going on, keep everybody accountable to the work that we're being asked to do, and make sure it gets in the right hands and is accomplished in the best way.
So Ryan, you said that really nicely. I'm going to play the heavy for just a moment.
All right.
And that is that you said, hey, we'd like it if you use this process and maybe didn't send as much email. And actually, we're at a point now where we really need to move to this process, and we really can't take requests via email. It's the ability to stay on top of it and the back and forth and really just visibility upwards to the amount of things that are in queue, and then the prioritization is just not possible if we're emailing. So going forward, this really is the mechanism to get support.
Great.
But it's like you're emailing. It really shouldn't be a significant difference, and that's why we're pretty confident that this is, it's okay to start being firm about this.
Yep.
Because it's as if you're sending an email, you're just doing it through Workfront, and otherwise do what you've always done. It's very basic. We didn't over-architect it with lots of different sub things you need to fill out because we didn't want to start complicated. So
That's right. Yeah.
It's actually easier than an email.
Yeah.
Because you just answer the questions in
That's
the
right.
form, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So
And
you don't even have to think.
and it's there's also an aspect too of this will help your life as well, because baked into this are alerts that you will get about your question being asked. Where is it right now in the prioritization, or what's the status of it, that type of stuff. So it's going to make your life easier too. Just trust us on that.
everybody wins.
Everybody
So-
wins, and that will.
So Patrick just wanted to confirm, so I can just email or drop by Ryan's office.
Yeah, you
That's
can
why
do
Patrick's not allowed
that.
to
Here's the
ask
thing:
questions.
you could do it all day, but I'm not answering a single question then. I have just
Do
a
not hear
snippet
bad
on
talk.
here. I have a quick, visual of what that looks like. But again, if you have any question about it, grab some eggnog and chat with Julie. She is more than happy to go through
She's
this.
a hot chocolate girl too. That's the way to get to her heart.
That's right. That's right. So this is something new and exciting enhancement for us that we're ready to start doing.
Right? We are bribable.
Why
Not
would
gonna lie.
I go see Julie when I'm just coming straight to you? I don't want to add to the process.
Right?
That didn't sound like the chat function there,
That's
Patrick.
right. I didn't hear
That's
that.
like the wizards
Speaking
on
of
the
not
phone.
following the process, right?
The wizard was not invited to this call, Patrick.
That's right.
I know, right?
Guys, we have
Oh, let's
one
see
last
that.
gift for you that is, it's a pretty big one too. It's the archive. So congratulations, guys. So this is a cool gift. So for the, you're right, it's almost over, so sad. Our archives. So we have, in the past had a couple versions of what was called the Book of Learnings, and we loved the Book of Learnings, and it was, a great starting point for us to put all of our learnings and analytical products, all kinds of stuff into one place. And as we have added to that and added to the team just some more thinking in terms of how we can store this information, we have moved it to a site called Confluence, which is something that the Walt Disney Company uses. So everyone has a login for this already.
It's your single sign-on login.
Yep,
so
that's right. It's super slick. It's easy to use. It's searchable. And so anything that's kind of in our smart realm, again, science, measurement, analytics, reporting, and testing, is stored here. So learnings that we have from the past, projects that we've done, we always put together a one-pager and put it into this system. And so now you can go in here and search for, topics that you're interested in. You can see on the little demo, we searched in there past guest, and everything that we've done related to past guest analyses or models or segmentations or just learnings is stored in here with information about who you can contact, what we feel like is pertinent information to know, attachments of the original analysis, all kinds of stuff. We have worked closely with CIMA on getting them integrated into this, which they have done, which has been awesome. And actually, went through all areas of CIMA as they are thinking about using this as their one central place. So that would be super cool to have everything that we have in the analytics space stored in one area between the two groups. And so, again, I'll send out this link, but feel free to just keep watching this little demo over and over and over again to learn how it's used. Or you can go chat with Julie, grab a candy cane or something, give her one, and she will walk you through this system and how we're using it now. And one other archiving type of product that we have that we wanted to talk about is the CE Testing and Learning Dashboard. You will hear a lot, when testing stuff comes up. Have you guys talked to Darren and Julie about that? That's because we are trying to have one central place where all of the testing results are living. It goes very close, with the learning plan, but even outside of things that are in the learning plan, we just want to catalog the results that we have from tests that are going on to help facilitate those learnings throughout the organization. So this is also in Tableau. There are directions on here. Again, we'll send out how do you get access to this. But this is information that we are gathering from across the department in terms of either optimization tests that are going on, learning plan tests that are going on, any of that. We are, again, here to help design that, make sure it gets to the right person. These would come through the smart request. And as long as we have visibility to it, we will bake it into this and have, again, one central place where all of our learnings are being stored so that you can go in and grab a learning if you are developing a message, an audience, a campaign, and just see what have other people done and what results have they seen. So, yeah, please go in and check that out as well. And so that is the end of the content. I know there wasn't very much, so sorry about that. But a lot of meaty stuff that I hope is helpful. And just wanted to, at the end, kind of show the team and with the changes that have gone on in the past month or so. Here's what the team looks like and what they are really covering right now. No.
I don't count? Okay.
No. Oh yeah, and Jennifer, guys.
Yeah, okay.
But if you have, I guess we'll put Jennifer's question, any other question, just ask Jennifer. But questions around, the framework or just our partnership with CIMA, feel free to talk to me about data science and analytics strategy and how we're approaching data science in our space. Darren is the man to talk about with that. Shamila, who's still out on maternity leave, she'll be returning next month, but is building models and segmentations for us. Anything around testing and learning, Confluence, archiving. Julie is the one to go to. With BI, reporting stuff that's going on, Matthew Chadwick is new to the team, and so can absolutely go and talk to him about it. And then as you heard in the MICE talk earlier this month, Deep is your man for digital tagging strategy, and then around more of the QA of digital tagging, we have Rodney on the team that is doing that. So, a lot of different people that you feel free to reach out to with questions. We're here to help.
The Workfront.
Via Workfront. Everything
Good
through
plug.
Workfront. No more face-to-face. I'm just kidding. We love face-to-face. So just coming up real quick, I just want to make a nod to the things that are on CE and CIMA's plate as a, in the partnership, the collaboration. There is the centralized media reporting platform work that's going on that's been, huge in the CIMA world, and they have been looking for funding everywhere. So if anyone has $1.1 million they can give up,
If they got
that would be
little
awesome.
bucket and out the elevator to
Yeah.
dip the coins
Yeah.
into.
But we're working on a collaboration with them and how to expedite the timeline of that and bake in more of the direct channel type of stuff into that project. Advanced analytic integration into Carl, which is our central analytics retrieval location inside of CCP. Very technical, but how do we get models into our environment ultimately to activation? The transition to Google 360, which I know our digital partners are feeling the effects of right now as odometry is sunsetting. The CIMA is doing a lot of work to make that transition as smooth as possible. Working with CIMA, mostly the AAO team, Amanda and team, on machine learning tool collaboration. How do we advance our capabilities in that space together? And then from the tagging perspective, the Adobe Launch TMS partnership that is coming up. So some pretty big things on the plate. And again, like I said before, Christian and I are constantly looking to make these things easier and also make them more effective. And so as we go through all these big projects, we'll see what kind of enhancements come up, but again, want to deliver the best result for the entire department in the most efficient way. So with that, do we have, look at
I
that.
just have one question.
Oh,
So,
just one.
Yeah, Mr.
Perfect.
Mr. Franz from here in Sunny Celebration.
All right.
Will there be a dashboard for each test or type of test?
So that's a good question. We have, the way that it's set up today, and Julie, you can obviously correct me if I get any of this wrong, it's more bucketed into the type of question that it is. So today we can start off with what is the question you're trying to ask, and you might ask that question, Franz, but then Darren and Matthew have also asked that in another test that they did. We bubble those up together, and then we're also bubbling it up to learning plan topics where we can. So is this an audience question? Is this an engagement framework question? If we can do that, we'll get it into there. But as you could see on the demo, it's your particular question and your particular effort, your activation effort or whatever, has its own dedicated space that you can see the results of just that test. But then we also bubble it up to get a greater learning against that same question.
And he kind of has a part too. Does all of this cover every line of business or
Yes.
just the big
Yes.
three?
That's right.
Every
line of business.
All
Yep.
right.
Now, our ability to measure based on each individual business has a lot to do with underlying data availability and how the campaigns were set up. So it's kind of like that's a caveat that needs to be taken into consideration, generally speaking, is that each campaign has different capability between data and analytics. But generally speaking, that is the goal, is we want to be as robust as possible.
Yep.
Excellent. Melissa Erickson,
Okay.
also here from Celebration,
That's right.
Florida, has a question. Will any of these bodies of work help determine the role of each channel by phase and possibly assigning where each channel is the most effective? And also along those lines, criteria for which channels are the best to recommend by phase?
That was a big
I'm
question.
reading
That
One.
is definitely part of our journey.
It is, and this is, I kind of alluded to it earlier. That type of idea, and Melissa, what you're thinking is a medium mix kind of question. And today, we have medium mix models that David Williams' team in CIMA produces, but it's a very high level, once a year, gives you an idea of how to plan out the channels, and we have really encouraged them to make that more relevant for CE. We're trying to make decisions on which channels and which message and to who every day. We're trying to answer those questions, and to go back to one model for the year is not really relevant for us. And so I've really pushed them a lot to expand their thinking there. I know that they have plans to redo those models this year, so hopefully we'll have a lot of influence into the way they set those up. But that's absolutely part of the journey that we are, again, pushing them on to really think about. And then in the work that we take on as well, if there's opportunity for us to provide insights into that, those are the types of things that we would be looking to do.
So you've been a big fan in Mr. Thermidor.
All right.
So there's a data min prior to measurement?
There's a data
minimum?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is, and I think to what Jennifer was talking about before, we struggle with a couple different things. We struggle with no data. So some businesses don't have any data. Then there are some that just don't have a lot of data. And by a lot, that's again twofold. Quantity wise, that sometimes we can't even measure a significant result due to the lack of quantity that's available. That's one thing that we would go through with you if we were designing experiments together. But then they just don't have a lot of data in the sense they don't have a lot of information captured in data. So they might not have an individual purchase this ticket. We want to know which individual it was, but they might not capture that. And so that piece of data would be crucial to, individual level measurement, but it's a gap today. So there are just a couple of things in that realm that we would consider. It is a huge question about what data kind of is needed. But again, we have on our team, and then again with our CEP partners that we are working with on a day-to-day basis, we can help answer those questions. And if you come to us with a question about a specific business unit and a particular type of campaign or channel or whatever, we will figure out, is the data there? Is it the level that we need it? Is there enough volume of it? Is there enough information? And provide you that, case by case.
Awesome. No other questions?
Dude.
What did everybody think of the
awesome.
holiday theming? Ryan, I got to
Listen,
say, I was pretty
okay,
impressed with
thank
how you
you.
turned this into a
Thank
Christmas
you.
story. 'Cause
Listen, it only took one
I
day.
don't think Scrooge could do that well. Man.
It's just
Oh, you're
one
getting
day.
the fans. Thank you,
Hello.
love. Very well done.
Great.
So I think.
That's enough. Any
Oh,
more than that,
well,
we'll get to his
I
head.
know, right?
Already has.
Too late.
Yep. All right.
No, everyone seems very pleased. So, look at that. The gift of 3 minutes back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, that was the last
Perfect.
gift,
That was the
guys.
last gift.
That was
Oh,
it. Merry
perfect.
Christmas, everybody.
All
Christmas
right.
tale of CE.
Right.
That was it.
Thank you very much. And,
All
you,
right.
and you will be sending all
Absolutely,
the links
yes.
out. The
Yep.
presentation will be available
Yep.
as well.
We'll
so,
send that out.
And go to Rod.
That's it. All
All right.
right.
Thanks
All
everybody.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.